Welcome. Hi. Welcome.
Hi, Diana.
How are you? Nice to see you. So, and I see we have.
Nice to see you too.
You have to explain this.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for doing this.
Of course.
I'm just for everybody who will be joining us later. I would like to welcome everyone to the Joyspring Family Online Festival, and I'm very excited to introduce homemade fruit leather, capturing abundance with Koviashuvik Local Living School, and founder Chris Knapp. Welcome.
Thank you, Diana. Should we start right now? Are we going?
Sure, yes, let's do it. And anybody joining in later can always hear the replay to start from the beginning.
Ask her if it's being recorded, because that would be
great.
helpful.
So it seems like there's a little bit of a lag. So if we get to a place where there's anybody asking a question, we'll just have to work with that. Great. Well, I'm honored to be here in between jazz and conflict, jazz guitar and conflict mediation and communication. Seems like a great place to be. And we're gonna be today making fruit leather, which is one of many ways of capturing abundance. And I wanted to start out with a thought about this game that we play at Koviashuvik, which is called the gratitude game. And so with the gratitude game, there's 3 ways to score. The first way to score is just to recognize that anything, something, is a gift. That's all you have to do. And when you score, you make this little sound, ka-ching, and that lets other people know that you've scored. So if you're, say, walking along the sidewalk and you realize that your neighbor has a beautiful big patch of rhubarb on the side of their house, just recognizing that abundance is there and feeling the amazingness of that plant that's offering this gift is the score, right? So ka-ching, already you scored. That's all you had to do. Just recognizing it, you score. That's how cool this game is. The second way to score is to utilize that gift. So in this scenario that we're talking about, maybe you knock on the door and say, hey, I noticed you have this amazing rhubarb patch, and I'm wondering if you're going to use it because I would love to make a little rhubarb pie or rhubarb fruit leather or something. And it might be a great way to meet someone in the neighborhood, for one thing. That's how I've met some people, is knocking on doors asking about apple trees with lots of apples dropping on the ground. And so that could be another sort of side benefit, another little score. But the second way to score is to then utilize the gift. So they may say, yeah, sure, we actually don't use that rhubarb at all. Help yourself. Take as much as you want. It's just there. So great. So now you have recognizing the gift, utilizing the gift. And the third way to score in the gratitude game is sometimes the hardest way to score, and also sometimes the most satisfying way to score is to make more of the gift. And so in the case of rhubarb, you might dig it up, divide the plant, and replant a little rhubarb in your backyard. Or you might take a bunch of leaves that you raked off your lawn and mulch heavily around the rhubarb so there's no competition from the grass. And then next year, you're gonna spread that rhubarb out and make more of the gift. All right, my son just took the computer, and now we're gonna just change the angle a little bit. Doing great. Okay, so that's a framework. It's a game to play, and you can play it anywhere at any time. We call it the gratitude game. And really, if we think about life on this planet, for 99.9% of the time that we've been here as humans, everything that we have, everything that we eat, that we make shelter from, that we make clothing from, has presented itself as a gift. And it's not that you don't have to work for that gift, but it's there, it's freely given. And so this mindset that we have now, and I'm definitely guilty of this mindset of seeing things as a commodity that you have to work for and pay money for, is a very new human construct. It's not what we're meant to experience. Experiencing the gratitude and the gift is a much happier place to be. And so as much as possible, we try to live in what we call the gratitude attitude. Okay, so rhubarb, we're into rhubarb, and it's springtime, and we're thinking about abundance. And there could be any kind of abundance. And so the first job is just to recognize it. Where we are right now, we've got two things in abundance. We've got rhubarb, and I'm just gonna grab a basket here. So we've got a lot of rhubarb. We have about a 50-foot row of rhubarb on the edge of the garden. And we have a lot of apples that are starting to go bad, but not bad yet. So there's bruises and bad spots in our root cellar. Those were apples that were picked last fall. So that was abundance that was captured last fall. Now we got to utilize it, or it's just gonna become compost, which is another form of abundance. So it's a win-win situation here. But let's talk about fruit leather. It's really simple. It's kind of nice to share because anybody can do this. All you need is extra fruit and a pane of glass and sunlight. Okay, so tilt down a little bit here. We're gonna look at where we're headed. So here is a little piece of fruit roll-up. And here is a bigger piece of fruit roll-up. That looks a little bit ratty, but that's a big piece of fruit leather. So that's where we're heading. Step one, after recognizing the gift, and is to make fruit sauce. So in any way, and this could be raw or this could be cooked. So in the case of apples, we usually cook it. In the case of rhubarb, we always cook it. And so we're gonna just chop up rhubarb, chop up apples, and make fruit sauce. This could be with strawberries, it could be with blueberries, it could be with whatever you have in excess or abundance. And it could be something that you don't have in abundance and you go and you buy some because you really want to make fruit leather. And that would be awesome too, because that's just another way of, you know, maybe you live in a place where strawberries are already ripe right now. The strawberries aren't going to be there forever. So if you want to capture that gift, buy a bunch of strawberries, make strawberry fruit leather. That would be awesome. So in some way, you're going to make fruit sauce. So we cook it down. And then if you have a blender, we have an immersion blender. And right now I'm in my outside kitchen. There's no power here. And so we're not going to show this part, but we just blend with that immersion blender and turn apples and rhubarb into a puree. It's really helpful when you're making fruit leather to have a puree, because like say you're using blueberries. Blueberries are amazing. They make amazing fruit leather, but they're also very, very difficult to squash, smash, puree every single berry by hand. I used to do it, and then you pour it out on glass and you think you've popped them all and there's 40 little blueberries popping up. Those blueberries aren't going to dry at the same rate as everything else. So having an even consistency, some kind of using a blender, is very helpful. Next thing, I'm going to grab a pane of glass. You can just stay there. Okay. Now we want to aim. What? Oh.
Can I just put this?
No. So you want to aim towards this glass, so a little bit lower. Great. Thank you, Owen. So now I've got a clean pane of glass. Any kind of old storm window works well. And I'm going to pour a glop of that apple. In this case, it's apple rhubarb. And now I'm going to start wiggling, shaking, dancing until I've got a thin layer evenly spread And this is how I like to do it. It's just shimmying it over that whole glass. Awesome. We're done. So that is going to go sit in full sunlight for 1 day. And if it's really full sunlight all day long, fruit leather dries in 1 day. Oftentimes it takes a day and a half. So now there's a couple more steps. Getting the fruit off the glass can be really hard. And one time we had some fruit leather dry on the glass and it was really stuck on. And I thought, well, I missed it. I didn't get it separated when it was still a little bit moist. I'll just leave this outside for the night, standing vertically, and deal with it tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And I made a wonderful discovery, which is that fruit leather, if you leave it overnight outside with the glass vertical, not flat, because flat it's going to catch too much dew and just be mush in the morning. But if it's vertical, it gets a little bit of that night air, moisture, somehow just loosens up the fruit leather, and in the morning you can peel it right off in a big sheet. So I'm going to get one other thing here. So this is a big sheet that we started drying yesterday, but we ended up not having full sun all day yesterday. So it's not fully done. But I did start on the edges. Yeah, come right in, Owen. Thanks. On the edges, I started peeling a little bit, and you can see how that's beginning to peel nicely, but then it gets to here. This is still moist. You can see my eye, you probably can't see, but my finger is mushing that. So that's not dried yet. We need to wait longer. And once it's fully dried, the rest of this fruit leather, we're going to peel off and make fruit roll up. And dried fruit leather like this will last for years and years. And so this little bit of springtime right now, when the world is actually in turmoil, this is something we can all do, is just recognize the gift for a moment, say thank you, capture it, and eat that springtime goodness all through the winter or summer, or maybe if you're hungry, tomorrow. Does anyone who is listening have a question?
No, thanks. I really want to try making this now. I do have a dehydrator, so I'm wondering if I can get a pane of glass and slide it into the dehydrator, if that would work.
If it fit in there, it would work. However, we found that the sun is really the ticket, because a dehydrator usually has a source of air, a fan or something, warm air, and it pushes it right up through. And in this case, we've got a pane of glass, so that air is getting blocked. So you want your heat coming down from above. There we go. Yeah, a little bit lower. Bonnie B just joined me to help hold the computer. Thank you, Bonnie B.
I see. Yes, thank you, Bonnie B and Owen and Ashira, all the behind the scenes production crew. I'm so grateful that you were able to join us and do this. I wonder if you would share in closing, if there are no other questions, share something about Koviashuvik and what you do there and how it's changed with the quarantine, what your plans are, and yeah, share a little something about yourselves before we come to a close.
Sure. So we're on a homestead in Western Maine, and we've been doing programming with families and school groups and individuals for the last 10 years, teaching skills a lot like how to make fruit leather. all of these skills about how to live well from our place, how to live well in our place. And so one program that I see Claudine and the girls there. Hello. One program that you all are familiar with is the Family Sustainability Stay program, which is essentially what your families have done, though a little bit by a different name because you are coming as a homeschool cooperative. But the Family Stay program is a way where we can work with families in a group of families, or as single families, and they come and just learn whatever skills you want to have to help you on your journey as a family to live more sustainably, more connected, to capture some abundance. And so that's one program we do. The pandemic has pretty much closed our doors in a sense for the moment, and also allowed us to really think about what it is that we're capable of doing in the world and for the world. And so that's helped us to refocus, and the direction that we're moving, which we were moving years ago, but it felt unattainable then, is to create a high school semester. And so that's the big direction we're moving, is to have a semester program that runs here for 3 months in the fall and for 3 months in the spring. And students would be working on all of these place-based living skills as part of an academic high school semester. So we're working that direction, and we're also just really excited to keep working with people in the context that we have been, and to be involved with our local school system, and to be sharing skills to help people all around feel a little bit more at home. The earth is our home.
Beautiful. Thanks, Chris. I'm so glad that you're able to return to that vision. This I think a lot of us are being called to be creative and really find, tap into our creative power. So yeah, for the good of all, to better this earth. Thank you for sharing. Is there anything else you want to say, or anybody else who has a question before we say goodbye for now?
I would say thank you for organizing this family festival. I think it's great. There's a lot of great offerings. We're excited to join in a little bit later on.
Great. I look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you very much. It's a labor of love. All right, Chris and Ashira and Bonnie B and Owen, we love you and miss you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye for now. And
yeah, we look forward to having you here again.
Thanks to everyone who joined us live, and to everyone who's joining us
bye.
later. Bye for now.